Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss spiritual roadblocks. A spiritual roadblock is when an evil entity or entities place people in your life or use people that's already in your life in hopes that your purpose won't be fulfilled. Roadblock starts in the spiritual realm. This is why a lot of chosen ones aren't prepared because we're fighting things with our flesh that's coming at us mostly in the spiritual realm. This might sound creepy to most, but just like we're assigned angels to protect us, there's demonic entities that are assigned to your bloodline, and it's coming after anyone who's trying to change the toxic dynamic of that household or family. Even if you're changing the toxic family dynamics by being different and living a more righteous lifestyle compared to your family, you're still going to be attacked spiritually because with that act alone, you're changing the bloodline for the better. What are spiritual roadblocks? Let's start with the narcissistic family you're born into. That's a big spiritual roadblock that you had to face very early in your childhood. There's no coincidence why you never got along with your parents or siblings. Whatever goes on in life isn't a coincidence. There is a reason and purpose behind it. Rather, your narcissistic family are aware that they're being used as a spiritual roadblock or not. They made the agreement with those evil entities to take down anyone who tries to change the family toxic system and the person who's trying to purify the bloodline. There are so many bloodlines tainted with incest as a physical abuse and mental abuse. And when you decide to be different and you decide to not partake in those activities, you're actually helping purify the bloodline. This is why your own family attacks you so hard. This is why when it comes down to being morally upright, it's not an issue for you. But when you can't seem to understand why it's so hard for your family to be morally correct, and I'm not talking about what they do to appear holy or upright, but what they do behind closed doors. How do they treat their family, especially the ones actually upright? And it leaves you puzzled because you don't have an issue with being morally correct, but your narcissistic family does because they're blinded. There's no coincidence that your family as a whole can't even come together for Bible study or something productive. You try to you try bringing out a Bible at a family gathering and see how fast your family members or a relative will make you feel singled out, uncomfortable, or unwelcome. But you look around and you see the family as a whole accepting the petals within the family. They're just chilling comfortably, knowing that no matter what, the family is going to stand behind them. But how does that look, chosen one? You're uncomfortable by doing the right thing while the evil ones amongst the family are praised and accepted. That's not a coincidence. There's a scripture, Luke chapter 23, verse 34. It says, "Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they parted his raiment and cast lots." This scripture is based on Jesus being crucified. And even during this time, Jesus is asking God for mercy on those people because they don't know what they do. At first, when I was a little girl, this scripture used to infuriate me because I felt like when someone is being abusive towards you, they know what they're doing, and that's correct. However, when it comes down to evil folks, they know the actions they're doing, but they really don't know. They don't see the outcome of their actions in a spiritual sense. They know they're abusing you, but they don't know they're just Satan pawns being used and will eventually be discarded. Then, when you become a teenager, you are faced with peer pressure, which is another spiritual roadblock. Since you wasn't accepted in your family or household, you try to develop a sense of community outside of your household, and Satan knows this. So it seems very easy to make the wrong friends than it is to make the right group of friends. So you feel even more isolated and lonely. In elementary school, I had this friend that was very shy, and every time we were at lunch, she would pray over her food. And one day, I was sitting across from her, and I started hearing an ignorant boy laughing hysterically while pointing at her, and he said, "Look, y'all, she's praying over her food." And the entire lunchroom started laughing at her. I stood up for her and told him there's nothing wrong with praying over your food, but the humiliation that she faced for doing the right thing blemished her self-esteem. It made her feel like she wasn't in, or that she was lame for praying. A lot of chosen ones, including myself, would do things in order to be a part of those friend groups full of people that have similar spirits connecting to our narcissistic family. This is why we felt compelled to deal with certain people, because they have familiar spirits that you were exposed to since birth. And when you felt like you overcame your narcissistic family, your narcissistic friends, then Satan will try to send you a boyfriend or girlfriend who's also narcissistic or toxic. And all we wanted was love and to be treated right. See, like I mentioned, nothing in a chosen one life is a coincidence. So many chosen ones got caught up with a narcissist because you were set up in a spiritual realm. These are what we call spiritual roadblocks. You've been preyed on since birth. If your narc parents couldn't break you, Satan would bring so called friends to break you. And if they couldn't do the job, they would send a significant other to do the job. And these narcissistic people will try and trap you with a baby or marriage. This is another spiritual roadblock when demonic entities try lashing onto you through sexual relations. If they don't destroy you by using everyone else, they will eventually use your sexuality and sexual urges against you if you don't have self control. There is no coincidence that little black boys aren't taught to have self control when it pertains to their sexual development. The man's supposed to be the protector of his family, but how can he be the protector and a leader if he's driven by his sexual urges, which lowers his physical defenses, also his spiritual defenses? The more you have little boys out here driven by sex, the more broken homes are created. These are all spiritual roadblocks. How can I fight against these spiritual roadblocks? You need a spiritual routine. When you open your eyes after giving God praises and thanking Him, you need to put on your full armor of God. Before you do anything productive or interact with anyone outside of yourself, you need to pray for protection, guidance, and pray that God clears your path daily. This isn't a one-time thing. You know how crazy that looks? You're living amongst the enemy, or you're moving around dark forces that you can't see, but you're not actively praying every day for protection, which leaves your spiritual sense vulnerable. You have to also realize there's things that God blocked that you didn't even know it was coming your way. So when we are faced with shortcomings, don't let that discourage you from praying. Because what about the things God protected you from that you didn't see? No, you didn't see was coming your way, but it was blocked. Um, so when you're faced with shortcomings, don't let that discourage you from praying, because God is protecting us daily from things that you can see and things that you can't see. And sometimes you will get a glimpse of how bad something could have been. Also, protect your spirit by protecting your mental state of being, of mind. You have to be proactive when it comes down to your mental state. You can ask God to protect your mental state and increase your mental health, but you also have to watch what you put into your mind by what you listen to or watch on TV and even what you see on social media. I would recommend anyone to purchase a journal and have your spiritual routine listed in there and go through it like a checklist daily, and you will see yourself transforming for the better. If you have specific prayers, requests, write it all down. To be realistic, this is spiritually preparing you for the spiritual attacks that occurs often than what we want to realize. It's going to help protect you, but that doesn't mean you won't be faced with spiritual warfare. You'll be better prepared for it. There's two things I want you to remember. Number one, roadblock starts in the spiritual realm and not the other way around. And two, God knew you before you was born. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. To, to sanctified is to set apart in a holy manner. Look at your life, chosen ones. You are a walking testimony of the scripture. And if God knew you before you was born, there's a very high chance Satan knew about you too. Nothing, in my opinion, is a coincidence. There's a book called, it's a book by Napoleon Hill called Outwitting the Devil. It's a free audio book on YouTube. It's a 3-hour long video, but I would recommend anyone who's going through spiritual warfare or spiritual roadblocks to listen to this regularly if you have to, in order to better equip yourself for this life. I'm going to be honest with you. If you're not spiritually equipped to this if you're not spiritually equipped, you're going to always feel like you're on the losing end of things. Thank you all for listening. I truly hope this message reaches those who truly need it. Until next time, thank you. Bye.